In this video, I am talking about how brands can be more inclusive. What started this was last weekend. I was at an event and it was so inclusive. I felt so belonging, and I want to share that with you guys. So you know how to recognize true inclusivity as a person with disabilities, how you can advocate for yourself and inclusivity, and how you can recognize what is just checking a box to say that, hey, we have disabled people, and what is saying, hey, you belong here, we want you here, thank you for being here. So let's get into it.
I want to preface this by saying I am not getting paid by this. I am not getting asked to do this. This is all me.
5 ways brands can be more inclusive. Number 1, knowing the difference between representation and inclusivity. Representation is having a person with a disabilities maybe in a campaign or in a commercial or wherever where they are visible. That is visibility, which is very important. However, I think we've kind of come away from needing just representation, and now we're in a space where we really truly need inclusivity. And inclusivity is being and belonging in that space, having accommodations thought out for you already. If you express an accommodation, they are met. They really truly want you to be there, all of you and all of your needs being met as well. For instance, at this event that I was at, it was a snowboarding event, and it wasn't even my snowboarding sport. It was slope style. I do snowboard cross, okay? And my park skills are terrible. And the other athletes that were there were like Olympic level gold medalist slope style athletes. And then there's lowly old me. And I was mortified going into this event. I had no idea what they were going to ask me to do. I loved the confidence and thinking that I could show up and just rock a slopestyle course, but that's not my sport. That's not what I do. And so I was so scared. But when I got there, one of the people that was running the event, he pulled me aside and he said, "Hey, Brenna, we heard that you were coming. We know this isn't your sport. We know that you don't have a back leg, which can be really challenging in a lot of this terrain. So we built you a specific flow track that we think you can do based off of your skills in snowboard cross." Not only did they have me come to this event, but they built an accommodation for me to be able to ride the course like everyone else, with everyone else in the mix. Was it great? No, but that was user error. But they had that built for me, which was absolutely phenomenal and true inclusion. And the reason I was so scared going into this event is because that never happens. That rarely happens, I should say. It rarely happens where they think about you before you even get there. Nothing needed to change with the snowboard course. It was all ready for me to go. Amazing. Number 2 is getting away from inspiration porn. Now, before I continue a little bit further, we're trying to move away from the phrase inspiration porn, but I'm using it here because you've probably heard it before. What I prefer is inspiration exploitation. Inspiration exploitation, what is that? In a lot of ways, it is false inspiration. It is showcasing a disabled person simply existing in day-to-day life where people just go, "Oh my God, that's so beautiful and amazing." We are so much more than just something to be looked at and something to be inspired by. So many disabled people have regular jobs. Some are even assholes. We are normal people who exist in disabled bodies. And when we showcase the really amazing superhuman things that we can do, and I say superhuman lightly, for instance, being an elite athlete, that is awesome. When you showcase the athletics, when you're not just showcasing the inspiring story that goes along with it, it goes hand in hand. And a lot of brands, what they'll do is they'll only focus on that inspiration instead of showcasing what we can do as athletes. And this goes the same in the medical field, in any like normal work environment. This idea of inspiration exploitation exists across the board. And so moving away from simply being inspired because we exist and moving more into being inspired or aspiring because of the things we have done, and you want to do similar things as well, like overcoming adversities and being just the best of the best at what they do. Like that is aspiring. And so making sure that story is told. I have a perfect example of what this looks like in my day-to-day life. I will be at the mountain, not even snowboarding, maybe just talking to my husband or friends, and somebody will just come up to me and they'll be like, "You are so inspiring." And yes, while this isn't totally hurtful, it is slightly patronizing because all I am doing is hanging out with my friends. And there's no reasons why that should be inspiring because I left the house. I understand how people can see inspiration from different ways, but it's when you take those lower levels of inspiration and you exploit them across the big stage and you make them the sole focus of the media where that becomes the problem. I also like to say, well, you should see me snowboard. Then we can talk. The third way brands can be more inclusive is thinking behind the scenes, okay? Who is making the calls with inclusion? Who is hiring the people with disabilities? You want to have somebody with a disability or in that marginalized community calling the shots or at least consulting on the shots, right? So this is how you avoid the ableism or the exploitation, inspiration exploitation. You avoid all of those less than awesome ways that our community want to be represented, and you're thinking more holistically and from behind the scenes of how we can make this community led, which is so important. Which also leads me to number 4, connect with those in the community. So this could either be, again, hiring out people with disabilities to consult for you. If you are a screenwriter or an author, and maybe it doesn't make sense to have like a full team of disabled people helping you with your book, maybe you consult people with disabilities, pay them for their contribution if they want the money. Like I have consulted for books before and I don't ask for compensation because for me, I would much rather you come to me and ask for that help rather than going out on your own. So even if you are a small business or you are somebody that's creating content and you want to talk about specific areas of marginalized communities that you are not a part of, find people in those communities and connect with them, because I can almost guarantee there is at least one person who is willing to sit down with you and educate you in the best way possible. Again, everybody with a disability, they're not going to have the same stories, they're not going to have the same experiences, and they're not going to see things the exact same way. But the more people you talk to, the more clarity you will gain and the better understanding you will be, so that you can share it in whatever modality you are planning on. And number 5, this one gets me. But it's embrace humor, but let's do it respectfully. Let's do it with dignity. Let's do it with the disabled person in mind. So I am all about the humor behind my disability. There are so many areas that I just think are so funny, just day-to-day things that happen that have just like little hee-hees throughout my day. And I share them online as well in memes. And I do it because I think it's funny in a way that is not perpetuating ableism. And I think that is something where we tend to like have this line of brands come in and they want to make a meme or something, and they do it without consulting a disabled person, and it comes across just so dehumanizing and degrading. And so I am all about humor, and I think more companies should use us in a humorous way. However, do it respectfully, do it with a disabled person in collaboration with what you come up with, but don't be so afraid to be funny with the disability. I feel like my content, there are other creators out there that do such a phenomenal job of being funny without playing into the stereotypes fully, right? Like, I think that's kind of an important thing also to know is sometimes stereotypes can be funny, but sometimes stereotypes, even in a humorous way, can be setting us back. And so having that fine line, sometimes you're gonna get it wrong, and that's okay. What happens when you get it wrong is you learn from the mistakes and you do better in the future. So don't feel like you can't do anything, but make sure you're, again, collaborating and consulting with people within the community so that things don't get weird. Also, I want to say, like, for my own personal, this is in my own life, I think I'm hilarious and I will make jokes about my leg almost anywhere. And if you guys don't laugh because you're afraid that it's inappropriate, we're not homies anymore. You can laugh. If I'm making the joke with the intention of laughing, do it. Don't say, oh my God, I'm going to hell for this. No, you're not. I literally made it to be funny. So keep that in mind as a consumer of disability humor. If we put it out there for you to laugh at, freaking laugh at it. Like, we're hilarious. So this is 5 ways brands can be more inclusive with people with disabilities. I hope that this either helps you learn about inclusivity with your own brand, how to advocate for inclusivity in your own circle, in your own life, and how to recognize the difference between representation and true inclusivity. Like and subscribe, guys, so that I can see you in the next video. I love this journey with you. The more people that do, the longer we can keep this party going. Bye.